free agency is dwindling down to nothing at this point. There's a few guys out there. I don't know how much money the Bengals have to dip into the high-end market guys unless some cuts happen or trades happen. But as of now, I think we've probably seen about almost everything the Bengals could or probably do before heading into the draft. And that's where we'll start this. This is Bengals on the Brain. I am Joe Goodberry, part of the Cincinnati Bengals Talk YouTube channel, where we've got you covered on everything. But the idea here was free agency wrapping up and heading into the draft. I usually have the same goal every year. As a draft guy at heart, I want to see the team head into that portion of the offseason, which I think is the most critical part of everything, in adding the right cornerstone players. And the ability to do that and think freely and not have to address specific needs throughout the draft is aided by the fact that when you can go in free agency, fill most or all of your needs, it doesn't have to be with great starters, right? You can fill tight end with Irv Smith. You can fill a corner position with Sidney Jones. You can fill a depth offensive lineman with Cody Ford. But if you can do these things, it allows you to approach the draft and take the better players rather than sitting there in round one and saying, we got to take a center no matter what. We've got to take one. And we like this guy. We think he's going to be a Pro Bowl center. And then he goes one pick ahead of you. So what do you do at your pick? You still take a center. You take the next guy who's probably a second round pick on most boards, and he ends up not working out for you. We want to avoid those years. We want to avoid the years, I think of also 2014, where they said, okay, we'll let the draft fall to us. And they take Darqueze Dennard in the first round. Great. The process is good there. He didn't turn out so well. But the idea is in round 2, 3, and 4, they targeted positions. They targeted specific players that they thought could fill the holes on a championship roster. So they go, we need a power back. Jeremy Hill in round 2. We need to add another defensive end to the room because our guys are coming up on free agency, Carlos Dunlap and Michael Johnson. So in round 3, they take Will Clark out of West Virginia. Round 4, we still need a starting center. We've been here before. And there's only one guy we'll have left on our board that's starting center. Let's trade up and get him and plug him in. And that ended up being Russell Bodine. None of those picks worked. And that was a crucial draft in this franchise's history and in that window that they had. And the Bengals are in a similar position again. They've got needs still, and we could probably talk about that. Maybe last segment we'll go over what still remains and what they could do before the draft. And we got a couple shows before the draft still. And we'll talk about prospects on another show. But they did make two moves since our last episode. And they signed 2, I guess I would consider them depth guys. I almost paused because the one, Tarrel Basham, the edge rusher out of Ohio University, and then he jumped around to a bunch of teams from the Colts to the Jets to the Cowboys and to the Titans last year. He's been a solid player, depth player, and I think he'll continue to be a depth player fighting for a roster spot and maybe active roster in that range, for the guys that are 45 to 55 on the roster. And I think he can help. We'll get to him. We'll talk more about Tarrel Basham. The other guy is Irv Smith Jr., the tight end from Minnesota, originally from Alabama, second-round pick. So we've got a second and a third-round pick that they picked up following the trend of what they've signed this offseason, guys that they probably liked at some point in the pre-draft process that they personally had high grades on. And from there, still would like to see what these guys have left in the tank or if they can maybe untap a little bit more potential or ability in those players. I say Irv Smith potentially is a depth guy because I still think, number one, you need 2 tight ends that can play at any point because you would like to go out there in 12 personnel, which is 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 1, 2, 12. Irv Smith, throughout his career, has dealt with injuries, has dealt with being the number 2 tight end in most situations. Even when he's had his chance to be the number 1, he either got hurt or the team made a trade to get in a number 1 guy, TJ Hawkinson, last year with the Vikings. But even in the first half, before they traded for Hawkinson, they had a full rotation with 3 tight ends. So Irv's never really been that full-time starter. So even if you were signing him to be that, which the contract does not look or indicate that, I would say that position is still very open to them drafting in the first round, second round, third round. I don't think any of the signings other than Orlando Brown Jr. and maybe Nick Scott will keep you from drafting those positions. But we're going to start it with, I don't want to make it sound like I don't like Irv Smith. I think the Irv Smith signing is great because it allows you to relax and not have to draft a guy in the first round. So that's double-edged sword, right? You don't have to draft a tight end now because you have Irv Smith, but he doesn't stop you from drafting a tight end. Let's see what he provides for the Bengals. A couple of Irv Smith games here. He's in the orange circle. A lot of them are going to be block, chip, if you will, leak out into the flats, catch a pass, try and make somebody miss afterwards, which, to be honest, is something the Bengals do fairly often. So there he's going to block and then drag. And contested situation that he's got a corner on him. That is Bradbury, so tight coverage, but something to note that it is a corner. Here he's going to have to get out to the outside, just chip 22 a little bit, knock him off balance, let the running back get around you and make a big gain. He's a good blocker on the move. But as he comes in motion over here, he's going to have to get on the line and block the defensive end. This is Brandon Graham, and this is not where you want him. He gets pushed back into that guard. Eventually can't handle the DN. Good job by the running back to pick up some yardage, but that's obviously not where Irv Smith's going to win. So here we got a chip out to the flats and touchdown. He's good at that. He can do that, but I'm just not sure that's something special, right? I don't want to be mean to the guy, but the Bengals will ask him to do this a whole ton. So they did this a lot with Hayden Hurst, asked him to just be the outlet, check down, and try and make something happen after the play. We got an in route here, contested situation, ball knocked down. Tight coverage, sticky coverage, you can see here. I'd like to see him be able to extend, reach for it, be a bigger body maybe, and go and grab it. He's split out wide here. He's going to run a go ball, and they're going to give him a shot at this. The corner bites on the underneath. The safety comes over the top. I think the safety might flash his hand in front of Irv Smith, and this what really gets his eyes to widen and not be able to locate the ball right there. But that's a huge, big drop down the sideline. Could have been a huge, big play for the Vikings and for Irv Smith. But otherwise, I do think Irv Smith can get down the field and track the ball in the intermediate to deep range pretty well. He does here over the shoulder to the side, sort of. But it shows his speed. He can run away from a secondary player. This is a safety on him. Even though he gets underneath, eyes still track the ball, still makes a catch as he's getting hit. It's a good play for Irv Smith. Again, we're going to chip, get to the flat. I believe it's 3rd and 10 on this play, so go ahead and make a play happen. You got to get to that line right there. You're going to have to make this corner miss. You do a good job. Another guy coming, make him miss, pick up the first down. That's exactly what you're going to do a lot for the Bengals. So I could see them liking this, helping out Orlando Brown Jr., leaking into the flats, make a guy miss, be an athlete, and get that first down. And no, this is not an instant replay. This is just, again, what they're asking him to do. Help out that tackle and then try and make somebody miss in the flats. This time, the Eagles rally to limit the gain. But I think overall, he's showing his athleticism in the open field, showing his ability to block and chip without ruining the path or the expectation of the left tackle here. So again, he's going to chip, now release, try and run an out route. Very tight coverage on him. Struggles a bit with it. I'm not sure if Kirk Cousins gives him an even catchable ball here. I'll slow it down, but it's so fast and high. Maybe he's even throwing it to the receiver, right? But this was targeted, or at least charted as a targeted pass to Irv Smith. He's going to split out a little bit here. He's in the slot. Bring him back into motion because we got a potential blitz here, and he's going to pick up the pass protection. Chip one guy, block the other. The ball's got to be out at that point. If you're asking your tight end to do any more than that, then we've got a problem. But here he's on the edge. He's got to knock Aiden Hutchinson inside, let Delvin Cook get out to the boundary. That's all you really want your tight end to do. All right, real quick, just saw a 3rd and 2 Irv Smith catch that really stood out to me. He's right there. They're going to show a cover 2 look, middle field open, pre-snap. They're going to switch it, and that safety's going to jump down. And so it's going to be a boundary opportunity here. Don't throw it over the middle. That's where the open field's going to be down there on the sideline. Hit on Irv Smith, a nice explosive chunk. But I want to show you the route here, okay? Because he wants to run a corner route, which is just, upfield, and then hit a 45-degree angle towards the sideline. But he gets rerouted so far out wide that afterwards he's got to get himself back vertical and hold that vertical line and not give it away until it's at the break point, and then you snap it off and get to your spot. He does a really good job there, but I want to show from the other angle as well that
the linebacker that's covering him has outside leverage here, and Irv Smith wants to get his route to the outside, so he's got to move that guy, get him off his spot first in order to regain that outside leverage. So he's got that jab step right at the line. The linebacker moves, and now Irv Smith has the leverage back to the outside where the linebacker knows he doesn't have help, and that's where he's now weak. So then he strings it back straight, cuts it off, and makes a nice sliding, diving grab on 3rd and 2. Hold it up for everyone to see. Little more Irv Smith in pass protection. He's straight up against the D end here as they're going to try and, I believe they're throwing a fade here. So he's just got to hold him off long enough. That's fantastic. It wasn't a fade, it was an out route. That's right, it's a different play here. He's got to get in front of this D end here and cut him off. He's a little late off the snap. The D end's able to wash all the way down, run all the way down the line, and help make the stop in the backfield. Come across on the snap here, picking up the edge rusher just enough for Kirk Cousins to get rid of that ball. Again, he's blocking the edge, and it's Aiden Hutchinson who blows him backwards into Dalvin Cook. But at the very least, don't let that end disengage at the spot. So you're going to get blown back, fine, but don't give him a free run to the running back. So Irv Smith holds on just enough there. And when you block with him enough, you can also say, hey, nope, we're not actually blocking. We're going to run a screen. Let him do some work. Let him be an athlete out in open space for the first down. Then he gets a pass down the middle here. He's on the left side here. He's getting jammed. I should have highlighted him real quick. Sorry, you'll see him on the when I reverse the angle. It's a little bit closer and easier to see. But we got another situation here. Watch him get jammed. He's really struggles to get off those two guys there. But then he's got this guy in trail. You've got it. Go make that catch. I don't think that was charged a drop because it was contested. But, man, I would like to see him come down with that ball, especially if his strength is his receiving ability in his hands. Well, these are some plays that I'd like to see him come down with. We got more blocking here. Nice seeing the linebacker come up and fill and just naturally flowing with that linebacker to create a lane for your running back. Blocking at the end again, washes him inside. Good job there. So far, I think his blocking is actually on the move, especially looks better than some of his receiving ability, which doesn't bode well for him, but I still like Irv Smith. Like this player here, where he's going to be basically the slot guy, and you got block 9 and wall him off, seal him off long enough for your running back to get around you. He does a great job there. It's a really good block. Coming in motion again, which they love to put him in motion. The Vikings constantly did that. And this next one is a concept the Bengals are going to run all the time. This is the sit glance route where he's sitting and the guy behind him is going to run the in, and depending on where the linebacker goes is where the quarterback's going to throw the ball. So that's something you're going to run all the time. He's already got experience doing it, knows what to do. Because sometimes it's not always just running your route to convince your guy you're going to get open, but almost wanting him to cover you so that the next guy can be open. So he understands that stuff. Here again, we're going to chip, head to the flat, try and make a play. He gets tackled here short on 3rd down. Defense celebrates a little bit, but it is what it is. Irv Smith running more routes, getting open over the middle of the field. Nice hands catch as he takes a hit. We saw this a couple times now. He isn't afraid to take that hit over the middle. His tight ends, they need to be, but catches away from his body with his fingertips, and you're going to get hit, and he still holds on. This time lined out wide, it's zone coverage, so he's going to sit down in his route over the middle, make himself available for the check down, and then run some guys over after the catch. This shows awareness. This shows that he knows what he's doing in route running. He can read the field post-snap, which receivers have to do. Look at all the zone coverages here. No one's chasing you. Fine. Sit down, make yourself available, make the catch, turn up field quickly, and maybe knock a few guys around after the catch. Irv Smith in 3 games here.
Irv Smith Jr. still young, can still have some upside left in his game. I think even if he is a move H-back type tight end, you could still draft that kind of guy. Like Sam Laporta out of Iowa would be a similar type of player. And just because you have Irv Smith already doesn't preclude you from taking a similar type of guy. If the Bengals do what they've done the past couple of years with like Uzama and Hurst, really don't ask those guys to block too much. If they want to continue that, you can draft anyone and fit them in. If you say, we want more, well, then that may limit which tight end you draft. Like a Michael Mayer would fit perfectly. Darnell Washington would fit perfectly with Irv Smith. But I don't see that as you've got to fit these guys together because Irv's on a 1-year cheap deal. So what I think you're getting with Smith, though, is just in case, you might you might get a good value out of this contract. A 1 year, $1.75 million for 1 year. He runs good routes, deliberate routes, easy mover. Like when his foot plants, he moves and cuts off it. You can't say that with a lot of tight ends. Like I was watching Tucker Kraft from South Dakota State prospect. He lumbers in and out of his cuts. He tested like a good athlete. So on tape, it's kind of funny because Irv Smith, I would say, looks like a better athlete, but he didn't test better. And I think that's largely because of his size. Sometimes these smaller guys look quicker than they are because when we watch the tape, as I showed those first few targets he got, they were heavily contested. And I went back and looked at his numbers, and he wasn't in a lot of contested situations. It's funny because I didn't clip these, but when he first signed with the Bengals, I put his games on and watched probably half of his targets over the last couple of years. Most of them, he's got a lot of separation. He does know how to run routes. He does know how to get open. He tracks the deeper ball really well, which I think affords you some separation versus linebackers and safeties. They're not corners, right? They're not tracking that ball as well. So I think you can get that final separation at the catch point. Irv Smith does that. So how is he going to be versus Hayden Hurst? Where's the upgrade? Where's the downgrade? I don't think he's as powerful after the catch that Hurst was. Hurst was kind of a maniac there. You could dump it off to him, and he'll truck a few guys and fall down. I think Hurst had better, stronger hands, better in contested situations. I think Irv Smith moves a little bit better, runs better routes, tracks the deep ball better. Maybe even a better blocker on the move. Screens, getting them up to the second level, just jumping out and getting onto the nickel or the linebacker on the edge and just sealing them, walling them off. I think he's actually better than Hurst, just slightly there. And neither guy was a great blocker, but I think Irv is better at what they probably asked them to do. Is it an overall upgrade? Probably not. Could it be? Maybe. I still think the most production, the most impact, most talent they're going to get at the tight end position is going to come through the draft. And that's where we'll be able to get a better picture of that position. We'll go position by position after the draft and really have a concrete feel for this roster. The next guy they signed, Tarrel Basham, like I said, he's been around, right? He actually, when he was at Ohio University, Jimmy Burrow, Joe Burrow's father, who was the defensive coordinator, was the D coordinator there for his final year. Third round pick. Athlete, but similar, if you remember that draft class, very good defensive end draft class. The Bengals took two that year, Jordan Willis and Carl Lawson. Similar guys to Basham. There was a lot of these guys. It's when we first started to see like the straight line-ish, tighter hipped, shorter armed, smaller athlete defensive ends. Really, that class was full of them. Basham is like that. He's a lot like Jordan Willis in terms of an athlete, but wasn't always great with his footwork. And I think that's why you'll see in these clips, I'm not going to go too far. That's why you'll see in these clips when I talk about his agility or the lack of bend around the corner, it shows up. But he's got a lot of moves. He is an athlete. He's smart. He's powerful. He takes pride in his work. I think he can be a fun player for them.
Tarrel Basham, number 57 for the Titans. He played the second half of last year with them after being released by the Cowboys Week 10. Maybe no surprise that this was his best game against the Cowboys in Week 17 of last year. Couple arm over moves to start this game. Forces a quick pass after helping out with the run stuff before that. He's going to, again, help out setting the edge, giving that left tackle all the trouble he can on a third and short. Help with the run stuff. Try to long arm into a spin move, which, again, now, so we've got a few different moves here that he's employed. That's Tyron Smith there, that he's driving over the pile backwards on a fumbled snap. So high energy guy. Guy doesn't, he plays through the whistle no matter who's on the other side there. Next is a speed rush where he tries to jab step inside and then run the arc as fast as he possibly can. A little bit stiff around that corner, turning a little bit like a boat, and can't get to the quarterback before the play's off. I still like the rush. I like tying up two guys here and letting your outside guy make the play for run stuff. I think he agrees too. You see him nodding in approval. Going to show a new move here, going against the rookie, giving him a ghost arm, giving him that arm like it's going to be a long arm power move, and then pull it away just at the right time. That can be devastating for young rushers, or young blockers, I should say. And now he's going to run the arc, try and chop and swipe down that arm as he turns that arc and turns the corner. He turns it better there, but Yeah, not not the most agile guy. I think both of these last two plays show that sometimes he can get himself washed out of the play just a little bit. He's aggressive. He's going to go inside here. He and the D tackle are going to go inside, let the defensive end or the linebacker clean up the edge here and come down and fill the gap, which they do. And he's happy to do his job over there if you see him celebrating. He's going to stunt inside here, but he's going to go against Hall of Famer Zach Martin when he does. And, oh, man, he got kicked out of the club. Allowed Dak to step up in that vacated area and hit a big play here late in the game. So, yeah, that goes probably as a negative for Tarrel Basham. Got stoned by Irv Smith on a touchdown pass. And now he's got future Hall of Famer on the other side here, Jason Peters, who's a little bit long in the tooth, so you got him a little bit there on the outside-inside move. What a play by Roger McCurry, not a player that we have to worry about, but someone from the evaluation. Tie up two guys, set the edge, I like it, let everyone else fill, and make the run stop. Some highlights from his previous stints here with the Jets. He's going to do that Euro step speed move to the outside, create the forced fumble on Josh Allen and the Bills. On this one, he's going to find work as he's looping inside, just like we saw against Zach Martin. This time he's going to find the gap, be able to close with the sack. Similar here, he's going to go all the way around, stay tight to the line, as tight as you possibly can, to force that throw, which probably was a good throw, actually. But we're going to see him run the arc here, and he's going to not fully win the edge, but as he gets back inside, just doesn't have the agility to break down and can't close on that sack. On the other side here, look like you're blitzing, look like you're coming, drop back into coverage, find the ball, get underneath the crossing route of the tight end. This is a tremendous job, something the Bengals will do a bunch. How about another power move? Go against Mike McGlinchey, the well-paid man in free agency this year. Force an interception after the pressure kind of hit on the quarterback. Great job by Basham there. Line him up, stand him up inside versus a guard. Nice cross-chop jump to get to the next gap inside. Again, run the arc, find the ball. He does that very well. And he's got to get on the field versus the run. So I like this right here.
It's good to see one of his best games, Basham's, that is late in the season last year. Shows he can still play. Shows he's still got some talent. I like the way the Titans used him. I like the way the Cowboys used him. Honestly, all the teams. They all figured out, especially the Jets and the Titans. I thought the way they used him, allowing him to move around, using him on stunts and twists, letting him rush from a wider angle. Like, if you're the tackle, a lot of guys are just one gap out, one technique out. If you get to the wide 9, it really allows you the ability, if you're a tighter guy, to threaten the arc because that tackle's got to get out there and then you can jump back inside on him. I think Basham is good as a wide rusher. And he can play both sides, which is nice. The Bengals really don't have that. Hubbard plays left end. Hendrickson plays right end. Osai was supposed to be able to do both. He did at Texas. We haven't really seen him on the left end at all, pass rushing. So that's something I'd like to see, if we could see a development in Joseph Osai. Let him rush from the outside left end, especially in nickel packages. But Basham can do that. So where does he slot into this rotation? Because I like the room. I like Hendrickson. I like Hubbard, Osai. Cam Sample came on last year. He can defend the run. He can play. He can help you out. I think Jeffrey Gunter can make the team and help out. And then you got Tarrel Basham. That's 6 guys. That might be your 6 right there, but you should always expect the team to draft one because it's such a priority position. If you find a guy there that's of value that you think is worthy of the pick, make the pick because you'll use the defensive ends. They'll all play. They'll all rotate. And the deeper you get, the better everyone gets because of the freshness. You can keep them throughout the season. But it does mean he's probably going to have to fight for a spot on the roster and then for playing time. So it's a 1-year cheap deal again, just like the Bengals have been doing with Sidney Jones and Cody Ford and Max Sharping, all these second, third round guys that they have signed this offseason. I like the shotgun approach with it. Get guys that have talent, that have produced at some level in the NFL, and see if we can get anything out of them for cheap. Basham is no exception. I actually like Basham. So if I was to rank like that grouping, Cody Ford I thought was the worst on tape of the 1-year guys. I really like Sidney Jones, but he did have bad moments and has dealt with injuries. Okay, I added Max Sharping. So it'll be Cody Ford, then Max Sharping over him. I know Sharping was terrible in that last game, but he was okay in the game before that, and largely in mop-up duty throughout the season, he was fine. And I think he'll continue to be that guy more than not. He got Chris Jones was on one that day, man. I think everyone was going to get it handed to him no matter what, unless it was Kappa and the starters we wanted out there. Obviously, that would have been nice. So I'd have Cody Ford, Max Sharping, Sidney Jones, Irv Smith, Tarrel Basham. I actually liked the way Basham looked on tape. I was really happy with that tape. Irv kind of concerned me a little bit with some of those contested balls, that deep drop. Basham looked good. He still looked good. He looked good with every team. He's a high energy player. I think it's a really good signing. So, but I do like Irv Smith. I do like Irv, Sidney Jones, and Basham. I do like those three. The other two are like, depth, O-line. Oh, that's the state of depth at the offensive line in the NFL. It's not very good. These guys are not going to be good. So you hopefully get those guys, good depth players, through the draft, and we'll see if the Bengals spend a pick there. But I still think they could bring in a running back at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if they signed another tight end. Drew Sample, even Mitch Wilcox hasn't been re-signed yet. So those two on the offense, I could still see happening. They brought in a defensive tackle, didn't come to an agreement with Contavious Street. I think D-tackle could still be something we see. And then I still wonder if they're interested in a punter at all. And there's a few veteran guys out there that could be had. So a couple more moves that could happen. They're not going to move the needle. They're not going to change the grade. James Rapine on Twitter, who owns this channel, he's the boss man, but he put on Twitter, what would you give the grade for the Bengals offseason as of now, with the moves as they are now? And I would have said a low B, maybe it's a B minus. But if Jonah Williams isn't your right tackle and you have to trade him and now you need a right tackle, I'd probably move it down like a C or a C plus, because I think there's value in saying Orlando Brown's our left, Jonah Williams our right, our O-line starters are set, and we can go into the draft feeling comfortable. If you need to draft a right tackle, that's a first or second round pick, or else you're not starting a rookie. And even rookies don't perform well typically on the offensive line. So I would knock it down. So I'm in the C to B range, depending on what happens with Jonah. So that's Bengals on the Brain. I'm Joe Goodberry. I've said that before. Follow me on Twitter, where we've posted other clips and talked about other players, potential signings, as well as guys they have signed, and other clips are on there, and other dialogue, and other advanced stats that I forget while I'm talking it out, even though I've got it written down here. They're on Twitter, and I have posted them before. So follow me on there, at Joe Goodberry, just the way it sounds. And until next time.